2026, a jovial, jolly, farcical neighbour dispute ends up with a man being murdered.
Tiptoe is a 5-part drama written by Russell T Davies, exploring the resurgence of homophobia in the UK. Set in Manchester, it stars Alan Cumming and David Morrissey as Leo and Clive, who've lived next door to one another for 14 years before the show starts. Leo, who's gay, lives on his own and runs a gay bar on Canal Street. Meanwhile, Clive, who's straight, is struggling financially and feels his masculinity is being questioned, lives with his wife Marie and their 2 kids, Saul and George, who all seem to hate him. At the beginning of the series, we see that Leo has been hung up from a lamppost outside his house. The rest of the series then takes place over the 10 days leading up to that event. It all starts when Leo gets locked out of his house after chasing a hookup away and seeks help from Clive.
Welcome, everybody. So, there's new listeners.
There is?
There's new listeners. So, if you haven't seen us before, we're called your internet boyfriends. My name is Mark T. Cox. I'm homosexual.
I'm Denis and I'm a straight.
Straight as a nail.
Right down the middle.
There's a regular guy. And we have a lovely podcast here every week where we talk about nonsense usually. But this is episode 1 of our special series called Go Deep, where we're going to be talking about in-depth reviews of life and shows and
cultural moments.
Yeah. And this series is all about the hit show, Channel 4 series called Tiptoe. We have a special guest in the room. Do you want to tell us about him?
He's sitting right over there. No, he's friend and journalist.
Yes.
Alastair James.
Why is Alastair here?
We were at a lovely shoot in Boys Gallery. And we're doing a shoot for Gabriel Clark, who was in the show Tiptoe. And Declan brought me along as his beautiful assistant.
Yeah.
And I came across some amazing people working there. And one of those people was Alastair James. And they were talking about Tiptoe and a lot of the issues surrounding the show. We decided then that maybe we should get this man on board and do something similar and talk about these things that are important, because I think we both watched the show and
I'm shook.
Yeah, wasn't well after. It fell underwater for about 7 days.
I think I've seen so many things over the last couple of years, but this has floored me, and I think it's important to chat about it.
We do a lot of stuff on this podcast, which is like very light and airy, and we do touch on some serious conversations, but we felt that this one impacted us so much, and people we were talking to, they were like, this deserves to be teased out a little bit more and treated probably in a different tone. And that's something to say to people that are probably listening to my voice right now and going, he's going to come in with a good joke here.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not during these series.
Yeah.
So we probably are going to treat this in a different way. And I do think for people as well listening who might be, I don't know, just going about their morning commute, we are going to get into some serious issues in this that, you know, maybe you want to listen to it at a time when you're feeling a little bit more comfortable or wrapped up in bed or something, because we are going to get into it.
Can you outline? I'm going to assume people have watched it.
There might be some people who haven't watched it, but just for the summary of the show.
Yeah.
So it stars Alan Cumming and David Morrissey.
Yeah.
Alan Cumming plays a gay cis man.
Leo.
And then there's David Morrissey, who is his incredibly straight, English underlined neighbour. At the start of the show, it's kind of maybe being portrayed as a little bit of a funny meeting of worlds, because they live right next door to each other.
Yeah.
So Alan Cumming gets locked outside with, you know, no pants on, and his person who's with the night before kind of runs off with his laptop. So it's a little bit of like funny kind of cat and mouse games, and the straight neighbour catches him, right? So it's almost like harking back to some sort of old, I don't know, like British sitcom.
A farce.
Right. So you're kind of lured into a false sense of security. And then as things progress, we start seeing that the neighbour, played by David Morrissey, starts encroaching on Alan Cumming, on Leo's life. And then things start getting progressively worse. And then you start feeling a little bit of heat on your shoulders as you realise that something bad is going to happen, really bad. But we're given a premonition of that right at the start of the show, which is Alan Cumming basically being hanged off a lamppost outside his house. So those first like hijinks that I mentioned, it's still weird because you still watch the hijinks going in some sort of comforting way, going, oh, maybe they'll work it out.
Yeah, they'll make
maybe
friends.
This won't happen. But you've already been told it's going to happen, which is strange, right? Because we're being told right now, you know, this in some form or direct form will happen. I'm kind of thinking, oh, well, it will work out. It'll be fine. Even though I've been told, you know, and still in the end, we get the end we were told.
It's coming.
It's coming, and it happens.
And we've been kind of shouting about it for 5 or 6
And
years.
it's still shocking.
People still don't want to realize, or they don't want to hear it until it gets that bad.
Yeah.
And you can't really work out how it could get to that, or what are the steps or the scenes that are going to like lead to his death. But then all the little moments throughout the series are building and building and building, and it's where you have hatred that's then just been poked by different moments that bring us to that.
Why do you think Russell T Davies wrote this?
Because I think he's furious. I think we're all furious that this is so around the corner, and we keep getting told, and it's Pride Month now. Pride Month is exhausting. You have so many people waving flags and telling us to be proud and be happy and go and party and go to see a brunch. And it feels so pointless because the reality is people are getting abused on the street and getting their identities reversed and everything. So I think he's like, I need to smack the public in the face.
Do you think you're less inclined to celebrate Pride this year?
Yeah. I think Pride is a bit more like about education and like protest and fighting, and it's not necessarily the big party that it was 10 years ago. My first Pride was like it was just like, let's dress up, let's wave our flags. We're free. Hallelujah. The dark days are over. And that song was playing, Florence and the Machine. The dog days are over.
All these big corporations, they're not celebrating Pride now.
Oh yeah, we've been dumped.
Dumped out.
Pretty quickly.
But back in the day, it was like such a big thing, Pride, Pride, Pride. And people were saying that. We've had this conversation on podcast before.
Yeah.
Where you're like going, well, it's no harm that they were or whatever. At least they were giving money to things.
Yeah.
Like they're going to give money elsewhere. But it's hilarious. And also, just, they don't even care. They're just like, yeah, we're just not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't have to come out and say anything.
There's a lovely line about, maybe it's the first episode, about like, we were fighting and fighting and fighting to be accepted and to be seen and to be visible and to just be liked and tolerated. And now they see us and maybe they don't like what they see. There are lots of homophobic people in the world. They're never going to like us. It's always been the case. And we don't really need them to like us. Get on with your life. It's okay. But that's kind of been the case for the last 10 or 20 years. Homophobia is fine. I said it. No. Quote that.
I was going to
write
jump
that
in
down.
and be like,
There's always homophobic people who hate us, and transphobic people and racist people. But what's happened now is the confidence to start expressing that very boldly and not being worried about the repercussions and not being worried about getting in trouble, or it's gone beyond like worrying about getting cancelled. It's people are actually just not concerned about the law or what's appropriate, and then it's turning into physical abuse and physical violence.
One thing that actually upset me, it's the first thing that's not the first thing, but it's the first thing that really hit home doing this podcast.
Yes.
I felt terrible after it. Was yesterday, one of the things that you said was that you don't feel comfortable on the tube. You saw some men and you thought, oh, they hate me. And Deck, our producer, he also said, yeah, I felt the same way when I was on the tube. And I just thought, that is the worst thing I've heard. And, as in that's it completely hitting home. I just wanted to kind of know, like, when did you start feeling that?
Oh, always. And
but if you don't mind me saying, and I don't want to put thoughts in your head, but it felt like you were more bringing it home recently, like as in that it felt like it had changed for you.
Yeah, for sure. Like in the last couple of weeks, but since COVID, basically, the last 5 years, people have lost their concern of being inappropriate or their worry of being cancelled or saying the wrong thing. And you'll often see it, and I'm trying to not group people too much here, but you'll get, it's not always gangs of lads. You might get a couple from anywhere, slightly outside of London maybe, have come into the city for their Saturday night to go see a West End show. And he has too much to drink, and they're on the tube, and all of his little views start to come out, and she might be either joining in or holding him back. and you just know this could go either way.
Mm.
They're just spouting off something. Like it happened the other day. I was on the train and there was a family from, I don't know where they were from, like, I don't know, maybe like Italian or Spanish or something. And one of the kids left a bottle on the train. And this guy, kind of big, kind of football hooligan, kind of a man, was kicking off and kind of shouting at the family and saying, pick up after yourselves. But the undertone of it was, I don't want you here.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to say anything directly racist, but he just felt very confident. And then once they got off, they were like rolling their eyes and saying, oh, they're all the same, all of this. That happens all the time. And then if I'm traveling around, it depends. I'm a big, tall, handsome, cis white man.
You are.
Like, boo-hoo. I'm grand. But if I'm around with a gang of other queer people, or like if I'm with, or it depends what I'm wearing. I had very funny hair for a while. Twice a week, maybe, some bit of a comment. Like just walking down the street, or like a man shouting from a van, because I had that real like faggoty like little slice and like mohawk, and like it was really like graphic and obvious, so it kind of shouted like this is a big queer. Whereas maybe walking around now, it's not always.
Do you think that's like a subconscious choice?
No, I just
want to do it?
No, I don't care about. I haven't actively tried to look less queer, but yeah, I'll notice if I'm like on the train sitting beside someone and we're clearly romantic, you just see the eyes, and it might be just someone rolled their eyes, but it could so easily just turn into them spouting off something. Doesn't happen that often, but you're braced for the worst. I think that's the concern at the minute, because people don't worry about consequences, sadly, and that's me. So forget about if you're visibly gender non-conforming or a trans person or a heavy person or like any way different. There's a man somewhere ready to have a laugh. What kind of sets the whole thing off and what leads to this disaster is basically Leo, the gay character, gives his spare key to his neighbour, Clive, the straight man, in case the alarm goes off. Why does he do that?
That's a pretty normal thing to do. Like just in general, we can go into the specifics of why he did it in a sec. But
because he got locked out.
Yeah.
And he was like, I should leave a spare key. But the different reactions to that, I've been listening to loads of like reviews and podcasts about this. Some people are so shocked by that. Like that was a big mistake and you shouldn't be close to your neighbours.
So what I read in the show, right, all the way through this, which led to the end, specifically in this case, for a gay man living next door to a straight man who's being... Also, I think it's really important to point out as well, like his straight neighbor is not a small guy.
No.
He's a big, imposing,
yeah,
quite aggressive, like just by looking at him, would kick the crap out of you, right? He's a big guy. I think that's really important, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it kind of worse. But what I read from all of this stuff is that Leo... Sorry, just as a note, will we just refer to them as the gay guy and the straight guy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Will we just do that, right? Okay. So not to boil them down to their elements.
I know what you mean.
But so
the gay one.
That's
what they do to us.
Yeah, it's true. The gay neighbor, he is trying in every single way, even though the criteria for success for winning over his neighbor is getting smaller and smaller, to win this guy's trust and do everything he can to protect himself as a gay man, right?
Yeah.
So he's going, you can have my key to my house because one, I've nothing to hide in there. You can come in there. I'm just normal, air quotes, as everyone else. And he keeps on doing this stuff to please the straight man, which is kind of, I think, a metaphor for everything that gay people do recently anyway, as in like, oh, you're right. I will, like I'll lessen, I'll bring myself down a bit, like as in I won't be as, again, not saying that everyone is like this, but like I won't be as sexual in front of you. I won't be as, I won't express myself as much. We won't fly pride flags.
Yeah.
That's what I think is happening. So all the way through the series, the gay man is kind of at every opportunity trying to sit the straight man down and say like, oh, well, I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. I'm sorry if, I've been like this. I'll change. But in the end, it's still the same outcome. And I think that's what Russell T Davies is trying to say is like, we have to stop trying to accommodate because they're not going to listen to us. And actually, they're just going to take more advantage of us.
So they've lived beside each other for 14 years. Clive has obviously never liked him and he doesn't like gay people. but he's just kept it to himself because that's how society works and we're supposed to behave
But
and be nice to each other.
there are so many shows that we watch, though, up until now. Let's say the straight neighbor, now, like he helps out, let's say the son or something in some way saves him, and then the straight neighbor comes to realize, oh my God, I was wrong all this time. Gay people are great.
Exactly.
But that's not really what happens.
That's not really what happens now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in 2015, that's a nice story. Or because Clive has a gay son, and maybe there's a lovely story there that the gay neighbor bonds with the gay son and helps him to realize. We've seen loads of those stories, beautiful, and helps him to come out, and then they all skip down the street. But now Clive, who's homophobic, is on his phone late at night watching videos of people being murdered as his hobby, and he's just become completely desensitized to what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. I want to talk other characters. Stephanie is very interesting because I think this show, it's very effective to kind of highlight homophobia. I think actually in society the bigger, more urgent issue is transphobia. I don't know, would this show have reached as many people if it was centered around a trans character? I think why it's so shocking and like, oh my God, could this possibly happen, is because it's the most tolerated, accepted character in the LGBTQ world, the cis white gay man who is middle class, working, well integrated and normal in inverted commas, like as assimilated as possibly
The most acceptable package.
Yeah, and that's why this is so shocking, because I think we're sadly kind of conscious that people of different religions and colours and trans people are always getting the bad end of the stick. So that series wouldn't maybe be so shocking. We have seen endless stories about trans people facing struggles, but this one is so shocking because it's like, yes, that is trickling up along to the cis white man.
I felt in the program though, it felt though that you could insert kind of any group into it.
Oh, you could swap
But
this.
this was used as like the vehicle to get the most people engaged.
Yeah.
So when I was watching it, I was thinking of trans people. I was thinking of,
or a family from Ukraine, or a family from anywhere that's just facing, or has probably politely and pleasantly lived next door to someone, and now, because racism is rising, is getting this hatred that they mightn't have gotten 10 years ago. But Stephanie's interesting because she's his best friend. She's the best friend of the gay man. So she's a very common character in the gay world. She's around. She's an ally. She's waving the flag. She's having the glass of wine. She loves the gays. She's going to the clubs. But there's transphobia very clearly in the things that she says. And it's almost excused. It's like, oh, our friends, we can't understand these pronouns, and kind of like rolling our eyes. And I think that's one of the criticisms the show has had, that was glossed over quite quickly, and her character was kind of forgiven, although
I don't think it was glossed over.
Do you think?
No?
I'd say the criticism is that it was glossed over. Obviously different opinions, but the consensus among queer people that I've seen, certainly anecdotally, is that the transphobic elements of the show have sort of been glossed over because she will say something from a gender critical point of view and no one really challenges it in any kind of robust way.
But is that not the whole point though, no?
I think as far as Russell T Davies is concerned, it is kind of the point, because he said in an interview that he's got friends who are gender critical, and it's only online where you end up screaming and shouting and being attacked by them. In real life, you have a chat and we all kind of sigh and put up with each other. That's how the world works. It's actually how the world is ceasing to work, is what he said. So I think that very much reflects his experience. He has gender critical friends and he's received some backlash himself in light of those comments about, well, maybe you should be distancing yourself from them. A lot of the criticism I've seen about the show has been specifically around this character, Stephanie, and how she's sort of dealt with, because it's not really, that plot point isn't massively explored in any great depth in the series, because it's focusing on many of it.
So for me, what I felt was happening was she was having these great points at the start of all of her conversations, and then she would say something that was completely backwards,
Yeah.
and it would leave a stink in the room, but her best friend wasn't challenging it. But I thought that was the point, no? Like, as in,
Well, that's probably reality. Yeah, that
You know?
that is what happens. And I think this show, it doesn't do what's right. Like, everyone in this show says things that are not appropriate because that's what people are saying.
yeah, like, as in, you're meant to feel uncomfortable, right? Like, as in, he is challenging the straight neighbor while being, I thought it was just a kind of a contrast, while being blind to his friends,
Yeah.
you
Or,
know,
or just tolerating.
transphobia and stuff, right?
Yeah, which is extremely common. This happens all the time, where you have someone in work or something where they're good people, they're nice people, they generally have the right idea about things, and then they'll throw in a light transphobic comment, and it just kind of gets accepted and not challenged. And I mean, the gay men are sometimes the worst. The eye rolling of the non-binaries, about the non-binaries and the gender.
Well, yeah, there is a few scenes in it with Leo and his younger staff,
and all
where
that.
he's like, is it he, him? Oh, I don't know. You know,
And that's very common, and that's very tolerated, but that can build.
Even in the show, that point about the pronouns, because Leo is depicted as not being perfect by Russell T Davies. He doesn't get the pronouns. He sort of expresses some frustration with it. But that is dealt with slightly more robustly by his younger members of staff than he addresses Stephanie's gender critical views.
But isn't that the point as well, though, that he's safer within, it happens in the bar and it's addressed in the bar, right?
Yeah.
So he's not living in his semi-straight house with his, friend.
Yeah.
He can't take her to task there. But
True.
they can have a more open conversation in the bar with
The backup of,
everyone else is around to say
Yeah.
these things and say, hey, catch yourself on, like, and
because in the flip of that, the younger gang are so joyful and hopeful, and that party when Z was choosing her name, and the fluidity and the acceptance and the lack of all of that nonsense that you get with younger people, just being kind of open and tolerant of each other.
I thought it was
a
just
lovely contrast.
I thought it was just good in the show, the way that they just showed contradictions everywhere
Yeah.
and how they were uncomfortable to deal with. So, like, in the bar, the young people at one point, maybe it was Gabriel Clark's character. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
they start sharing the video
Yes.
in the group chat of the son of Clive.
Yeah.
And it's him on kind of like an OnlyFans site, and they share that around, and then they're kind of brought up on that from like a HR point of view of like, this is a contractor we have in here, you can't be doing that,
Yeah.
etc., etc. And then there's a comment from the person at the desk who's kind of like the manager, or like the admin person.
Yeah.
And she makes a comment basically saying, isn't this the stuff that your lot are always giving out about? As in, like, young people are giving out about, they were meant to do this by the book.
Yeah.
Yet you're doing this here. Anyway, the overall point in that is that, like, going back to Stephanie's character and all the rest of them, I just thought Russell T Davies just went full hog on, like, this whole thing is full of very
She's
difficult
also
contradictions.
Can I say now,
Do you know?
Leo, and this is a lesson to a lot of he meant well, but you cannot be texting a 16-year-old.
No,
And I think he knew he made a mistake, but I can see how that happens a lot, where you want to be this savior and you want to help young people. There's a line of like appropriateness. And I think what was very good, we're jumping around, but the rules of behavior in queer business is very interesting. If you work in a gay bar, the way people interact with each other is outrageous sometimes as colleagues, and the things that people say to each other, and it can be dancing around a completely inappropriate line sometimes. So I think he didn't have that sense of what was appropriate and what was not, even with his staff, and he was kind of coming in telling stories about hooking up with people, and it's like, God, that's a dodgy line sometimes, to be dancing with your colleagues who were 30 years younger than you. That's not justifying killing him, but I think that was an interesting little highlight of in the queer world.
No, I thought that was very interesting take to have. But
I've
then,
seen that in bars and stuff.
But
where-
again, it's the contradiction of it, right? Which I think it was just excellent throughout the show. Was like, who else is going to help this young lad?
yeah,
Who's going to help this kid, right? So he's at a crossroads of no. I felt like yes, like the WhatsApp note and all that stuff was heavy-handed, and he's also is messaging him on a dating app, right? So
Yeah.
like that's that's crossing the line. Like you shouldn't do that.
yes,
I don't think. But at the same time, that's all fine. But who's going to help the kid out?
yeah,
So then, like that's what do you do? No, there's probably better ways to handle it, but I just like the way it gives you kind of that maybe unanswerable solution.
it's also a bit racist at the start because she's a social worker or a social care worker, and she talks about migrants coming and pretending to be younger than they are so that they can get access to schools and to girls. I'm like, is that true? Is that just a story that you're?
But I love the way he writes that though, because it's again she is speaking from what you think is a source of knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So I think what he's doing there is he's saying that like we can take that source, or Leo can take that source and take it as verbatim, right?
yeah,
But the same thing is happening to Clive,
yeah,
but it's coming from a different source. And you're saying, oh, well, that's true. But she's probably being fed something somewhere along the lines as
you
well.
could fast forward her story. Does she become very racist or transphobic, or because actually at the end she's kind of very comforting to Izzy Flo, the trans character, and maybe this is the moment that they come together, because the whole issue in the UK with this kind of women fighting for women's rights and trans people fighting for trans rights, there could be a moment where both of those groups realize we are kind of fighting the same thing here. There was a little glimpse there where those two women kind of were comforting each other. Were they in the doorway or something?
Yeah, they're in the doorway and their door is being banged
And it's
on.
like, is that a glimpse of potentially there's some good here, that all those groups who are all facing so many problems could start to like work together, because it's patriarchy and misogyny. And
I think it's really interesting the way Russell T Davies leads the audience to believe there's going to be turning points.
yeah,
He does, even though and this is so weird because you've seen how it ends,
yeah,
but he leads you to believe that the straight man next door might turn a corner. And there's a scene where he's putting the straight guy into a cab
yes,
and he's giving him £20, and he just wants the straight man to say thank you to him.
Yeah.
Because constantly gay men are apologizing or saying thank you. And he said, just say thank you to me just this once. And then the straight man says, okay, thank you. And the gay guy screams and goes, fucking yes.
and takes a big bow,
And takes a big bow.
as if, yeah, I'm winning.
But what-
or I'm winning him round.
But what was funny with that scene was I knew that the straight guy was not taking that in the same way. He
Yeah.
was literally just taking more from him. He was giving him £20. He was just giving him lip service,
Yeah.
but he was going to act the exact same way anyway.
What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene in the whole series is when Leo, the gay man, is sitting down with Clive, the straight man, in Leo's house at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
That is the most sweaty. I don't know. It's just like you'd nearly have to pause during it.
Because you know he's going to die, but you don't know, is it now
Yeah.
or is it?
And it's just that Leo relentlessly is pushing the straight man, and you're just fearing for Leo because you're like, this guy is bigger. He's in your house.
Yeah.
He has you pretty much cornered. And going by what we've already seen of Clive, right? Because Leo hasn't seen the life we've seen Clive living or what he's up to.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh no, like stop pushing this man. I think the message for me there as well, what I was getting, and it's from my own experience, you're not going to get through to this man. Self-preservation. Stop pushing this man to change because he's not going to change. He's gone.
Yeah.
he's
I
lost
think
here.
maybe Leo is just a bit invincible, or feels like, because he's HIV positive, he's lived through the 80s and the 90s and all these awful things. And do you think he kind of feels like, fuck it, like what's the worst he's going to do? I'm tough.
I think that maybe him as a gay man and other people like him, gay men like him, will think they'll kick the shit out of me,
Yeah.
which I can accept this way,
Has happened before.
but they'll never kill me.
Yeah.
Right? So like he'll push me around, he might even punch me, but he won't kill me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of mental gymnastics I think that Leo's doing there, where he's like saying, well, at least I won't die.
Yeah. Can I bring a light one?
Yeah,
Can I? This is a lot.
it is a lot.
Oh, poor Mary's driving into Donegal town, listening to this.
She's pulled over on the hard
She's
shoulder.
going to go off a cliff. I liked the scene that you just talked about, where you have the two men having this fight discussion at the kitchen table. But before they start the discussion, did you see what happened?
I can't remember. What was it?
So Leo, the gay one, kind of pauses everything, turns off the big light,
To settle him down.
and goes around the house turning on every little lamp, every little accent light. There's one under the cupboard, there's one little shelf, like here, little lights on every. But that was a very funny, like the pride that he has in his house, the comfort. Maybe he doesn't have loads of money, but he has a lovely home that he's completely in control of, contrasted to Clive, who has no space. He's everything it's his family, his kids and his wife,
And
and
he sleeps on the couch.
and he sleeps on the couch every night. He's no comfort. He's no nice things in life because his house is so aggressive and he's so hostile.
I actually think you're touching on a good point, that if straight men were forced to turn off the big light and put on little lamps, it might actually bring down homophobia.